There's a shooting range for this? Okay. Yeah. Alright, so this video, I apologize for the lighting situation. It's going to come up really dark on YouTube with the camera because it's not early in the morning for me when I do this, but this is how I play most of the time in the morning. This is going to be a tips and tricks video for support, and I was going to have how to contest support because that was asked for, but I'm going to cover that in here. I think this is just going to be kind of a general all-purpose video on support. Now, looking at supports, I want to start with something. What does each of these supports right here have that makes them unique? Because let's think about it. All supports have the ability to do 3 things. Heal, attack, and there's a third thing that makes them unique, that they can say, okay, I do this, I do this. Now, many supports have multiple roles, but we're just going to pick a couple of things. So let's start. Your first healer, alphabetically, is Furia. What does she provide that she can do better than any other support? Well, that's her stun. She has the ability to stun with the Pyre Strike. So she can give you a wombo combo, a 1-2 setup type thing. So now we're going to go down to Maldamba. What does he provide? He's got a stun as well. But he also can give you a speed boost. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the stuns. They both have stuns. They both can do speed boost. Fury can shield. Fury can damage boost. He's got CC on the ult. Your next healer is Genos. What can Genos provide? Well, Genos provides damage boost. Genos provides the ability to void grip the pesky little flanks, #Koga, so that they can't escape. What about Grover? Grover can provide a speed boost, he can cripple targets, he can slow targets. What about Grok? Well, Grok provides complete CC immunity to anybody in the totem, and he can give speed boost on the ult. What does Pip do? Well, Pip's kind of an odd one. Pip's got his ult, which, well, it turns everybody into a chicken. But in terms of actual benefit, he can slow people with his explosive flask. He can provide a speed boost off his healing potion. Saris, she can run agony. She can run stun. She can stun people for a second and just knock them out of their game plan pretty quickly. She's a little bit lower in that regard because it's really the one legendary card. Like, that's one thing is, like, Grok always has his ult. Always has his ult. Like, a loadout-based champions and, stun card champions, to me, are slightly weaker. Furia, Maldamba, Grok, Ying. Those are stronger in that the third benefit that they provide is always active in their ability, no matter what you select. Ying's the wild card here. Ying literally doesn't do anything besides offense and defense in healing and damage. So what do I have to pick here? Teleport. She can teleport in and out like a madman. But as an FYI, first off, I want to start with what are the tips and tricks that I want to discuss. Actually, no, I'll flip that. I'll do that last because that'll be character specific. Let's start with champion. What do you want to run if you're a champion? I'm going to pick Genos right here, and I'm going to show you why. Now, you look at Genos. Let's pick Celestial Touch for healing. Pick the UV build. Right. Let's start with items. Things that are important to consider on supports. Almost every support has the ability to reduce their cooldown to the range where they do not need Chronos. Let's get that shit out of the way. It annoys me when I hear people say you have to have Chronos on a healer. That is bullshit. Every healer in the game has the ability to be built into their loadout where Chronos is not needed and you can pick morale boost. Chronos on a healer is a bit of a crutch. Now, this comes as a bit of a hypocrite because I generally rely on Chronos for some of my higher end healers. For example, Grok. For example, Maldamba. For example, Grover. Those are 3 healers that I generally will pick Chronos for every single time. Now, there's a reason for this. Chronos is still your best option unless you're going to spam your ult. Now, the builds that I primarily run on Grok and Grover are builds that don't have a lot of cooldown built into them. I have an elimination build on Grover that allows me to reset a cooldown every elimination, basically. So, I don't need Chronos on that build. I can run morale boost on that build and have a better healing option. But I primarily run a speed boost build to buff my team. The thing about a support is a support's job is not necessarily to heal. And it's not necessarily to do damage. It's just to support your team just enough. I had a 2v2 yesterday, and everybody got upset because I got carried as Grok in kills. But we also won by a blowout every time because all I did was effectively heal my partner. All I had to do was heal my partner. I didn't have to do damage. I got killed the most times in both of the 2v2s. One was under ranked rules and one was under unranked rules. And we still won. And they're saying, but you got carried. But I didn't need to do the carrying. I did my job. I healed the team and I buffed my partner with the Totemic Ward on Grok, preventing the Ceres, preventing the Cassie, preventing the Xin that we ran up against in those games. So that's a thing that you need to realize. When they call it a support instead of a medic because their job is to support the team, and that's important to realize. Now, first off, I'm going to start, we start in utility. Chronos is not something that you really need on a successful build for a number of champions. Ying does not need Chronos. Ceres does not need Chronos. Genos does not need Chronos. Furia does not need Chronos. There's 4 champions off the bat that do not need Chronos. Plain and simple, a healing build does not require Chronos. There's half your healers. Now, Pip can run Chronos if you're not really running too much of a heal, and even if you are running a good healing build. Oh, I don't know what utility feels like. Looking at a good Pip build, we'll look at a good Pip build right here with, you know, Mega Potion, my primary build. You still want to run Chronos in here because there is that 5-second cooldown in between your healing potions, so you get off 2 healing potions in quick succession, ideally, and then you have that 8-second cooldown. Also, the radius at 32%, you know, that's something that's kind of annoying. All in all, Pip is a champion that I honestly understand if you want to run Chronos over morale boost. It's not a necessity. Another example that I want to show off is Grok. Good Grok build. Good Grok build. This is designed around Chronos specifically. This is designed around get your totem out, Ghost Walk when you get low, and the cooldown on your totem gets low, drop your totem again. The 3 seconds off, because you have to realize that it's 1 second to activate Ghost Walk, 3 seconds you get taken off from activating Ghost Walk, and another second while you're in Ghost Walk. So legit, you have a 5-second cooldown reduction. At Chronos 2, you're looking at 20% off your build. So 20% off of Ghost Walk, you're looking at it being about a 10-second cooldown. 20% off of Healing Totem, it's about a 13-second cooldown. Activating Ghost Walk right away puts your Totem and your Ghost Walk on the exact same cooldown of it. So that's at Chronos 2. It's a good build because if you know how to time your Ghost Walk and your Totem, you can constantly stack the two so they're alternating and constantly having totems out. Notice that I don't have to increase the duration here. It is 6 seconds because I play on Chronos 2. I can play a build right of I really don't lose the totem unless they're actively shooting it. Another example, we'll change champion, we'll go to Grover. Grover's another one I feel right here. This is the primary one where I'm talking about buffing. I do have the adrenaline in that one. On my other one, my cooldown reduction, I have adrenaline at 5. I don't reduce the cooldown at all on this build because for right now, Chronos is currently a 12-second cooldown. Chronos 2 drops it down to 10 seconds, and they're going to be patching him where it's a 10-second cooldown. So that would be Chronos 2 will give it an 8-second cooldown, which is primarily what I'm trying to get to. Chronos 3 does put me at 8 seconds. That's why I want that 8 seconds. At Chronos 2, there's not as much pressure for me to go to Chronos 3 because that's 7 seconds. I probably would just because it reduces the cooldown of everything else. But you see right here, this build right here gives me 90% increased radius on my Blossom with a speed boost. The other champion I was talking about that you do kind of need Maldamba. Now on Maldamba, the key is it's mainly for your Gourd. I run Eerie Presence 5. I'm not worried about that. It's mostly for the Gourd, just so you have a nice long-range AoE heal that you can kind of burst heal people on. You use your Gourd to heal chunks of people, and you use your Eerie Presence to heal one person kind of up to full health. So that to me is a bit of a give and go. Also, look at all of the builds that I've just shown, except for Grok. Speed boost on him. I have a combat medic build on Pip. speed boost on him. Grover, speed boost on him. These are all about moving your champion around very effectively. Seris, Ying, Genos, and Furia don't need it with the right build. So Furia, for example, Cherish with Flex Heal. This gives you a 3-second cooldown on your primary heal, and it's a good burst heal. Chronos is not going to help you reduce that. Chronos 3 drops it by 1 second. You don't need to spend 2,400 in credits for an extra second on the cooldown. You're better off with something else. Another champion is Genos. Genos, I can understand if you're going to do that. Use me right here. You're at a 6-second cooldown. You can hit multiple people on that. If you want to run Chronos, Chronos 2, you're looking at about a second off. Chronos 3, a second and a half, closer to 2 seconds. The key here is Falling Star, in that void gripping low health targets to reset your cooldown. That's a very good anti-flank thing, because if a flank is low health and they're trying to save their escape ability, it forces them to use it and usually allows them to run into it. For example, Koga, this is also, by the way, a very good build on Power Coliseum, because you can void grip them and they can't escape out of it. Power Coliseum on this healing build, it's not as effective because it requires you to get very close to void grip, but it's very effective if you're trying to run a cooldown reset. You get 20 seconds off, and that's Chronos 2 every time you get a kill with your Falling Star. So, I mean your void grip. So that's a build that you don't necessarily have to use. Seris is another one that you don't need Chronos on. Plain and simple.
Credits.
Let me explain why. That's a 2-second cooldown. Chronos 2 is only going to shave off 20%. That's close to a quarter to a half a second. At Chronos 3, you can't even shave off a second. That's the thing you want to realize. If you're not shaving off a second by Chronos 2, you don't need it. Furia you don't need. Genos is kind of iffy. I mean, a lot of people do. I say you don't. And then on Ying you plain and simple don't need, because, hey guys, I'm in a live stream right now, so if I'm talking to the camera, it's for a class. On a balanced build on Ying right here, you know, elimination reduces cooldown by 1 second. Her cooldowns are low on illusion and shatter. They're relatively low for a healer. Morale boost is a better choice. Just as an example, you don't really need Chronos on her. So a lot of healers kind of use Chronos as a crutch. Other than your more AoE type healers, you don't really need that Chronos. You're better off picking other abilities. So going back to Grover as an example, we'll do Grover with the elimination build. Morale boost is a good option if you're not going to do Chronos. Master Rider is good if you're trying to get onto the point faster. Nimble is good if you're having problems with survivability. Personally, on characters like Grover, Pip, where they provide that speed boost, you don't really need Nimble as much. Morale boost is definitely a better option, especially if you have more of a damage type ult. Furia, same thing. I'm in kind of a class right now. Yeah, you can stick around, but it's just I'm kind of talking to the camera. Morale boost is a good example for those champions. Master Rider is a good example for those champions. If you're trying to avoid the Chronos crutch, as I call it for healers, there's still good options there. For some characters, though, it's just not simply an option. For example, Maldamba. I buy Chronos because the ult can be easily countered, or easy to miss. So there's not a lot in doing that. Master Rider and Nimble, not as good, because you're better off taking those credits to something else. The healing category for healers is very important. I see a lot of healers on Veteran. You don't need that. Outside of a Seris with Shadow Travel, I get Seris on Shadow Travel. I get Genos if he's trying to run away, but the problem with Veteran is it relies on the fact that you have to be in whatever your escape ability is for the 4 seconds in order for that to kick in and heal up faster. Kill to heal is almost always what you should run. If you are running a damage support, Life Ray. Rejuvenate if you're running multiple healers. For example, Furia Damba in a competitive game, the healer should be one healer should be rejuvenate, one healer should be kill to heal. That way their one healer is getting more out of what they're healing, and the other healer, who's more of a damage style healer, gets more from the other healer. It's important to note that kill to heal is only effective, really, if you get it up to at least tier 2 to tier 3. Because a lot of healers are lower health now than they used to be. So getting consistent eliminations to restore you 900 health is a very effective strategy. Also, things to note, reload speed. Other than Maldamba, and on occasion Furia, you don't need it. It doesn't work with Grok, plain and simple, because he's a recharge. It doesn't work with Grover. Genos is fast enough. Ying is fast enough. I'm sorry, you don't need it. Damba needs it for the stun. And Furia needs it because she has a slower reload. She has the 6th fastest reload. The only ones that are slower are Maldamba and Grok. And Grok can't benefit from Deft Hands because he doesn't reload, he recharges. It doesn't recharge faster with Deft Hands. So, not a good option. Deployables is another thing. I tell people deployables is not a great option unless they're really pissing you off. For example, all of the people that rely on deployables, for the most part, rely on healing off of it. You're better off on Cauterize because it will also affect the rest of the team. Barrick's turret's pissing you off, focus on eliminating the turret and having Cauterize. If he can't heal from his turret kind of cripples him. Bulldozer's not needed. Same thing on Anara. Anara relies on healing from her deployables, like Warder's Field and to a certain extent her wall. You're better off on Cauterize, so that she can't get healed from her deployable. It renders her ability to use their deployable differently. Same thing on Grok. Grok is another one. On Totematic Ward, you think, oh, get rid of the totem. True, because of the CC immunity, but if you're killing them faster with Cauterize, then the CC is not as helpful. CC immunity on Totematic Ward only works if you can stay alive to take advantage of it. If a Willow Dead Zone is on it, you can focus on killing them a lot faster. They may have a problem with the CC, and you won't be able to use CC-based attacks like Damba ults, or an Anara Warder Field, or a Bomb King. That's fine. If they're dead, they can't take advantage of the CC immunity. Wrecker is also a great choice on a lot of the support champions that do higher burst damage. And I hate saying burst damage because it makes me sound like a PC Master Race motherfucker. Furia, don't buy Cauterize. Buy Wrecker. Okay. Furia on Wrecker 2 is going to do close to 700 damage a shot. And because of how fast you can put out fire, you can take down Makoa shields in one clip with Wrecker 2, if you're healing somebody in between. And if you run the card where Kindle Soul will restore 1 ammo, that's free shots every time you pop a heal. So every 3 seconds you get a free ammo and a heal on somebody, and it boosts your rate of fire, and the shield goes down even further. Cauterize is not as effective. Let the rest of your team focus on that. Damba's another example. You don't need reloads. If you don't want to run reload speed because you think reload speed is a cheap card, that's perfectly fine. Run Wrecker. Damba on Wrecker 2 is going to be getting more out of Wrecker than he is on Cauterize. Cauterize on Damba's piss poor. Let's be honest. Between the rate of fire, the difficulty in hitting your shots at longer ranges, it doesn't affect on your snake toss, which Wrecker does. Wrecker will stack when you toss your snake. It will not stack on Cauterize. So Damba's another one that if you're dead set against running reload speed, Wrecker's the way to go. Or even then I would recommend deployables if they're running deployables, because then it makes it a lot easier. It's a static object that you can sit there and shoot, so it's kind of hard to miss those shots. You can kind of, on deployables too, Grok's Totem goes down in 2 to 3 primary shots on Maldamba, so that's a second to a second and a half. Genos, there's another champion. I would recommend Cauterize on him, Cauterize or Wrecker. Plain and simple. You don't need the deployables, you don't need the reload speed. He has a fast enough reload speed. Wrecker is kind of a bit annoying. If you're running Binary Star, run Wrecker. If you're running anything but Binary Star, I would say run Cauterize. Also, Cauterize stacks on Power Coliseum instantly. It will stack with Luminary as well, even though you don't get the bonus out of Luminary, does help your team. Grover. Grover's another one. Wrecker, if you plan on being back further, then I would recommend Cauterize, but Wrecker's a better option just because you're consistently stacking the damage. Even at close range, Wrecker 2, you're 3, if you're right in somebody's face hitting the shield, you're doing 650 to 800 on the shield as opposed to 300 with Cauterize. That's a neat example there. Grok is another example. Grok can go either or on those, on Cauterize Wrecker. It really depends on what the team comp is. You have a lot of shielding, grab Wrecker. You have a lot of healers, grab Cauterize. They're pissing you off, grab Cauterize. They're not really pissing you off and you want to fuck around, grab Wrecker. It's a flip-flop on that one. Pip? Depends on what you're running. If you're running healing and they have healing, you're better on Cauterize so that you can take that away. Especially if you're on Combat Medic. If they're running a lot of shielding, you hit for 600 a shot, so Wrecker 2 is going to give you 1800 a shot. That's a pretty decent trade-off in my opinion. Personally, I always think that the healer should be on Wrecker in most cases. If you're not Domba with reload speed, or on occasion Furia, for example, if you're not doing as much healing on Furia, and your Wrath is rather low, reload speed does help mitigate the slower rate of fire. That's where I recommend it. Ying is a good example for Cauterize, though. Because of Cauterize stacking with your clones, you can constantly keep Cauterizing, you know, spin around, hit one person for Cauterize, hit one person for Cauterize, deploy your little minions, have your minions go kill everybody, deploy this, deploy that. That's a better option compared to Wrecker. Wrecker also doesn't stack very well because her individual shots are 55 a tick, and Wrecker 2 is only going to give you 100 ticks. So that's 500 on Wrecker 2 if you hit all your shots without Reflecting Lens. Reflecting Lens will give you close to 800, but it's not as effective for shield duty. And then the last one, Saris. Saris is kind of a mixture. Cauterize is good if you're running Agony or Soul Collector. To be honest, she doesn't need as much except Cauterize. I would say run Cauterize on her. She's kind of poor on Wrecker unless you're specifically trying to take down shields with the consistent rate of fire. She doesn't need reload speed. You can run cards where healing people restores your ammo, so it allows you to heal, fire without having to reload. And she doesn't need deployables, unless, once again, you're really getting pissed off by the deployables. That kind of tricks on how to play that.
Credits.
Another example is, the last category to go over is the defensive category. Haven and Blast Shields to me are always weaker cards, just because you need to get them to at least tier 2 to see the benefit. 7% is not a lot. Can save your life every now and then, but it's not going to do a lot to really save you from a power ult. Whereas at tier 3, it can be overpowered. You know, they have to, on a character like Anar, she has to hit an extra shot to kill you, because you're taking off a fifth of her damage. On a 5-round magazine, if she hits all of her shots, at Haven 5, you're negating one of her clips, basically, one of her shots. So, that's the only disadvantage. And if you're going to spend that much credits, you need to be really annoyed. Resilience is always good to avoid being stunned, even if they're only running one person with CC or crowd control. It's still helpful to mitigate that, because a lot of CC-based champions, Bomb King, Furia, rely off of that one stun killing you and stacking it. Illuminate is always specialized. Saris, if it's pissing you off. Sky Strix, pretty much always. Shaolin, if he's pissing you off. Like a lot of the specialized cards are if they're pissing you off. I'm giving no merit to Veteran outside of an ability where you stay inactive for longer periods. Saris, Genos, Desert Shadow Shaolin. Veteran I can understand. Xin, Veteran I can understand. I give it no merit if you're on a Victor. Victor on cardio, no. Stop buying Veteran, it doesn't help. Illuminate when they don't have anybody that can go invisible, no. Stop running it. And no, it does not stack with Maeve's ult anymore. That's getting patched out on the 22nd when the patch comes, so stop buying that. There's specialized cards. Bulldozer's always specialized to deployables, and like I've said, you're better off on Cauterize. Now, let's look at tricks on how to counter people. So, specifically countering, we'll go alphabetical. Look at Furia. What makes Furia annoying? The fucking stun beam. Thing to note, they don't do a lot of healing if they're running a full stun build. With the 5 points and increasing the duration of the stun, and the cooldown reset on the stun and that, it turns them into a damage character. So then really you just run Resilience, get Resilience 3. If you have, like Makoa, you can run the card that gives you 70% CC immunity. Leviathan on Makoa is another example. Mother's Grace on Anar. These are all things that allow you to counter that fairly easily. Is she annoying without Exterminate? No, she's not. She's a healer at that point. Even with Celerity, where on Celerity she does a bit more damage, it comes at the cost of healing. How do you counter healing? Well, first off, you can't counter Solar Blessing. Let's put this to the test right now. Here's the little shooting range. If you think Cauterize can counter Solar Blessing, you're wrong. He's taking damage. Solar Blessing, he's not taking damage. He can sit there and stay and take it. I heal. I reset. Oh my god, no, he's gonna die. I heal. Oh my god, no, he's gonna die. No, he's gonna die. No, he's not. No, he's not. You can't counter Solar Blessing if it hits someone. Now, if they decide to be a dumbass and run out of it, well, then there you go. Then they're dead. But Solar Blessing is your best healing bet for healing a specific target to full health. If you actually break down the numbers, it is 6,000 health per second, and it cannot be Cauterized. At Cauterize 3, it's a 1.5 second for Cauterize 3. It's so much healing in such a short amount of time. That's 600 health. That's 600 health they're still getting out of it. So, that does make it annoying, but again, the hard part is actually hitting your shot. Another example is going to be Cherish. Cherish is on the weaker end a little bit now, just because of the fact that they did nerf it. You see, I'm not healing the Fernando up as much. Cauterize definitely does counter it. Like, I'm sitting here spamming him, he's not gonna die. He's not gonna die! Come on! I can get one more heal! Ah! No, I can't. That's what I'm saying about Furia is a bit on the weaker side without Solar Blessing. So it's important to balance that. How do you counter a healer? Obviously you say Cauterize, but then you forget about the secondary effect. Okay, so how do you deal with that? No, you're stunned. I can get a free heal on my Fernando and pop some damage on you. And I get to heal him and kill you. So, I love how everybody's joined while I'm in the middle of a class. we've got a full party and everybody's like waiting on me to get out. So, as an example, Furia becomes incredibly effective when you realize that her best benefit is her stun, believe it or not. I can focus on popping heals in between stunning people, and that allows my tank to have more survivability. Stun the person shooting them, heal them, and then still turn around and kill them. That's what makes her annoying. So avoiding the stun is actually more effective than Cauterize to a slight degree. Now, Cauterize is always going to be helpful against a healer, plain and simple. Even if they're not healing, it's still going to be effective because the few times that they do try and heal, they're not going to get anything out of it. But the key to countering Furia really comes from the stun. Wings of Wrath isn't a great ability unless you're running Reset, because more often than not, it just gets you into more trouble, dashing backwards potentially into a flank like a Skye. And Skye's loving embrace of Poison Dart, Smoke Grenade, Poison Dart, and you're dead. Also, by the way, your ultimate really only works with the team. Coming in the next patch, they're going to be reducing it. They're going to be nerfing it slightly. So it used to be, if they were around you within the 150-foot radius, you would get the bonus, and that lasted if you died. As long as they were near you in that 150-foot radius, you got that buff no matter what happened to Furia. So, now that's gone. Now you have to be within the 150 feet of Furia in order to keep the damage boost. So it turns her into a little bit more of an AoE champion, to be honest. She has an AoE damage and speed buff, which you're going to need the speed buff to keep up with your team at that point. So, the next champion... Oh, fuck me. I fucking hate the menu on this. The next champion that we cover is Grok. Grok is obviously, in my opinion, one of the more overpowered. People still shit on him, that's fine and dandy. As Wolfman, who's in the party, can attest to, the last game of the 171k healing against Tier 3 Cauterize, with a tank that carried the team in damage. So, looking at Grok on Totemak Ward, we're still over here again. The key right here to realize is any CC is not going to work. And I'm consistently healing the Fernando right here to the point where he can't die. We Ghost Walk real quick. He's gonna die, I think. Yep, he's gonna die before I get it. I don't have Chronos on this. That's the real reason why. Yeah, so he's still being out-healed. He's still being out-healed. And I have the full mobility to sit here and shoot. Oh, he's getting low. I can ult and kill you and heal him up. And yes, they're buffing him, but they're still dead. And I drop the totem, and I'm resetting the cooldown, and I'm killing you. Grok is allowed to play a much more damage-oriented role. The key comes when the totem is down. The longer his totem is down, the more ineffective he is. And he does have good tools for resetting it, for example, the Ghost Walk trick. But, at the end of the day, you have to realize that Grok without the totem loses a lot of healing and becomes a DPS. Now, without any boost to his DPS, he is a higher DPS. He also doesn't have a very mixed assortment. For example, Furia, what makes her annoying is she has AoE and direct damage. Her primary fire is direct, her Wings of Wrath is direct, her Pyre Strike is area. So, it's hard to defend against one or the other. Grok just has the ultimate for area damage. But it's very effective for being able to do that. We move on to Grover. What makes Grover annoying? The fact that he cripples your ass. How annoying is it for all the Ceres mains in here and all the Grok mains in here who are just about to activate Ghost Walk, or Shadow Travel, or other Grovers that want to vine out, or Yings that want to teleport, and you just get hit at the last second by the cripple, and you can't do anything now. And it knocks you out of it. And then you die, because you can't escape from it at that point. That's what makes him annoying, but also, it relies around his accuracy. Grover's damage is entirely based around his accuracy. Can he hit his axe? Can he hit his cripple? If he can't, then he's just healing. He also has a very hard kit to work around. He's long-range damage, but he's close-range healing. And he can kind of play Spider-Man in and out. But if he's playing Spider-Man trying to get in and out, then you have to run the risk of, are you needed for healing in the moment or damage in the moment? Also, if you vine in to heal, you have to wait to vine out for damage. So, vining in to use your ultimate is great, because your ultimate will tick off about 3 seconds off of a 7-second cooldown on the vine. You know, you hit a couple of shots and you can vine out to damage. He's a harder kit to realize, and Cauterize really does affect him. But again, the best thing is movement. It's very hard for Grovers to hit moving targets unless they're practicing tracking aim. A strafing Grover's better, like what I'm doing right now. Strafe from side to side while aiming your axe forward. This allows you to compensate. You can move in the direction that your target is moving with and have a better chance of hitting them than standing still and actually trying to hit them with moving your right stick. Genos is another champion that can be very difficult. For example, there's no counter to a Luminary Genos because as long as they're being healed, they get the damage boost. So, Cauterize doesn't cut off the damage boost. That's important to note. Killing them does. Which is hard to do without Cauterize to counter the healing. He isn't going to heal as much with Celestial Touch. Celestial Touch is also great because you can burst tanks back to high health pretty quickly. Power Coliseum is very effective because it really can't be countered. And even still, people that try and cripple me on Moji, I just Magic Barrier drop to the ground and melt them as soon as that. Most Power Coliseum Genoses are going to be longer range. They're going to run increased range. And if they do, that's good because it keeps the flank from killing them right away. If they're not, and they're trying to run a healing build with Power Coliseum, they're dead as soon as you get out of it. Like, plain and simple, they're dead. They rely more on their team to kill their target than anybody else. And it's especially annoying on Koga because that motherfucker can ult out of it and counter Power Coliseum instantly. And you're dead anyways because if your escape ability, your Victor sprint is on cooldown, you are dead. So, tricks to note on him if he's running a healing build is the fucking range that you actually have on healing somebody. Let me see, what's the maximum range on healing somebody? Right? Let me... Nope. There we go. This is the maximum range on healing somebody with Genos. And that includes through walls. Your ultimate is a bit shitty in that you kind of have to line it up perfectly to hit multiple people. Because you can't move it to adjust your aim. But note that your healing is incredibly strong. Yes, Cauterize affects it in the long run, but a good Genos can have a 12-second duration with a 5-second cooldown and can heal through walls at a pretty decent range. You can have up to 3 people healed at the same time. And a Luminary Genos can provide a damage bonus on top of that. He's very specialized countering-wise. Damba's another interesting one. Dambas are damage or healers. There's really no in-between on him. Ripened Gourd is a damage card, but it will be changed to a healing card. So, we're not going to talk about that card right now. An effective card, if you're running an old damage card up until the 22nd when they change it, 50% Cauterize on the Gourd and a 40% slow on it. Plus, you can stun somebody real quick and hit them with damage. It's an effective strategy for damage. Spirit's Chosen, well, that's your best bet for healing. It allows you to burst a target pretty quickly, and if you think about it, it adds an extra second to your duration. You heal for 300 health up front, he heals for 250 health a second. So think of Spirit's Chosen as increasing your heal to 6 seconds on a target, as opposed to 5 seconds, and you're a little bit better off. Snake Toss is beast on damage. You have 500 additional damage, so that brings you to 700 on the Snake Toss. It increases your stun to a 3-second stun, and as long as you have reload speed, you can constantly keep chucking stuns out. It's important to note that you have a 3-second stun on Weniko's Wrath, which is going up to 4. However, if you try and stun somebody, fire a shot real quick, and then stun again, it doesn't stun them. You have a 3-second cooldown built in between stuns on this card to keep people from constantly fire one shot stun, fire one shot stun, fire one shot stun. So it is a little bit harder to play around if you're running that damage. And again, a nice counter is Resilience. Resilience or CC immunity is always a good thing. Grok negates Weniko's Wrath. Totem up, no stun. So you just take the 700 damage, which is nice and bursty. It's also important to realize that that 700 damage does stay. So even if you're not actively trying to fire and reload, it deals more damage than your primary fire does. So that does make it an effective, if rather annoying that you have to reload all the time type option. And Weniko's Curse is beautiful because it allows you to poison targets. It also doesn't do a lot of damage. And you're not going to do any healing with it. Let's be honest. If you're running Eerie Presence and Weniko's Curse and you're just praying your Mending Spirits trying to hit something, you're going to probably hit an ally and heal them the one time you're trying to hit a damage. Damba also relies more on accuracy than any other champion, and I do compare him to Furia and Furia to him. You can't heal through walls. You can't do it. He's not Genos. Stop thinking that he can heal through walls. I cannot heal him. Plain and simple. His AoE Gourd is only while the champion is there. So he does suffer from Furia Syndrome of the motherfucking tank deciding, I don't need heals, I'm gonna run over there. So shitty teammates, by the way, are also a great counter to a support. If you have a well-organized team and they appear not to, congratulations, you've won the game. Plain and simple. It's also very effective. Damba's also effective, one of the most effective champions because he can heal 2 different times. He has 2 abilities for healing. He's got the gourd. That's AoE damage, and he can spin around. Up, you're over there, I can heal you. Up, you're over there, I can heal you. Have a gourd in the middle, and I heal you. And then I heal you. And then I heal you. So, it's an interesting situation that you have to manage specifically on Damba. If you can hit your heals, he's pretty beast. If you can't, you're kind of screwed and you want to play more of a damage type Damba. Now, damage Dambas can heal. It's just a little bit more of an uphill battle because you rely more on the gourd than the actual heal. Note the impressive range that you can snipe heal on Damba. Where's my target? There you go. I can snipe heal from incredibly long ranges. In fact, just as an FYI, you could actually out-snipe Genos with max range on Maldamba. He's that good on snipe healing. But the problem is, moving target plus a teeny tiny reticle, it's not hitting someone in the circle on that screen on the reticle, it's hitting the actual teeny tiny dot in the middle. Also, the flight speed on his healing gourd isn't great, even with lighter gourds. Lighter gourds 1 and lighter gourds 5 is not a very big difference, to be honest. The next champion we will pull out is Pip, and Pip has one of the hardest uphill battles in the game to deal with. Cauterize affects him more negatively than any other champion in the game. I have scientific research I've done on this. Cauterize 3 on Pip with Mega Potion, with a tank on full rejuvenate. It is over a minute and a half to get the target, to get your target up to 50% health. So you really have to rely on hitting your Mega Potion in between periods of Cauterize. That's why a lot of people play him for damage. Note, Explosive Flask is not Ensnare. There is no 2-second built-in timer. So if you've got Resilience 3, you are not going to be affected by the Explosive Flask for that long, as opposed to Buck, where you're going to be affected for 2 seconds. Combat Medic is actually a better choice, in my opinion, for damage, because it encourages you to heal. It's very similar to Furia. The more you heal, the more damage you do. And if you're running a decent build and your aim is good, you can run eliminations reducing cooldown instead of hitting multiple targets. An increased radius with your good aim allows you to constantly pepper someone with Healing Potion. Healing Potion, increased rate of fire, elimination. Healing Potion, increased rate of fire, elimination. Healing Potion, and it's constant stacking. That also allows you to overcome Cauterize to a slight degree. There's an easier way to counter this. Kill the Pip. Pips are very easy to kill. If they want to bunny hop and waitlist, that's fine and dandy. Just wait for them to stop jumping. That's my strategy with Maeve. If they want to jump around like crazy, or Ruckus on the triple dash card, and they just want to constantly jump around, that's fine. I'll just wait for them to stop and they're dead. There's only so long you can jump, people. There's only so long that Fortnite players can play in this game with their bunny hopping, boinga, 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 before I finally hit you and you're dead. Mega Potion is definitely still the way to go on healing. It's also important to realize that a good Pip, the more I hit, the more people I hit, the faster that cooldown goes down. I can burst you down multiple times. It's also very easy to know that Pip relies more on positioning, probably than any other in the game. If he's trying to snipe, flushing him out reduces him greatly. If he's trying to be on the point and explosive flasking targets and weightlessing and mega poaching allies and stuff of that nature, then he's pretty easy to kill at that point because he's not sitting back sniping. So your best bet is to try and stay mid-range, where you're too far away to take damage unless they get up close, but you have the ability to escape to your teammates and get bailed out. It also puts a little bit more pressure on him, though. He has a harder time hitting shots at that range. They're not long range where he can sort of track his shots. It's not close range where he can just spam them in people's faces, and your teammates are more likely to run away from your position. That's the big problem I personally have on Pip. See, Fernando here is fairly easy to heal. I just toss a healing potion. He's not going to move. In a game, this is what I run into. He's low health. Okay, hold still, Fernando. I'll heal you! As he dashes away and I miss the heal. If a good Pip knows how to heal is on your team, stop running away. Let him heal you. especially if they're not running Cauterize. Now, Saris is interesting because there's two schools of thought on her in terms of actual healing. On Agony Saris, she's relatively easy to counter. Good Agony Sarises can counter you hard. And I mean hard. A good Agony Saris can pretty much knock out anybody in a 1v1 with their ability to constantly Shadow Travel, heal up, stun you, Shadow Travel as soon as you recover. But Resilience will always cut down on the stun. The real problem with Agony Saris is the constant ability she can heal herself. So in fact, rather than Resilience, I would recommend Cauterize heavily. Cauterize 3 negates her Ren Soul unless she goes into Shadow Travel first, and she has to come out of it very quickly to Ren Soul to heal herself, and if you have Resilience and Cauterize, it's fairly easy to counter. Note, she's not going to do a lot of healing to her teammates. She's going to heal one person at a time. Soul Collector is a difficult card to run, to be honest. You're not going to do a lot of healing, and to be honest, you're not going to do a lot of damage. Now, they're buffing it because it allows you to get up to 30% increased health and damage, which is going to be lovely. 15% with 2 stacks each. The problem with that, though, is, again, you're not doing a lot of healing, and to be honest, you're not doing as much damage. 30% on her primary fire amounts to less than 100. It's good. No, it'll be about 100. I'm thinking it's about, what, 95, I think? 95 damage, maybe 100. I forget if she's 300 or 330. I believe she's 330, so that would be 100, 110, roughly. That's still 400 in Orb, and you're kind of sacrificing healing potential. Void Abides and Mortal Reach are definitely your way to go if you're focusing strictly on healing. And to be honest, if you have a second healer on the team, run Agony. Run Agony. It's more annoying for the enemy team because it gives your team time to capitalize on that stun. Also, if you stun another Saris or another Grok when they're low health and they're about to escape, that's even more time for your team to capitalize. The thing with characters that rely on stuns and slows, you personally are not expected to capitalize on it. Let's be clear on that. Your team is. This is a team-based game, and a support is all about your team being able to bail you out. Your team should not be expected to heal themselves. Should not be expected to slow, stun, whatever, the enemy team by themselves. That's what you're there for. You are the support. They don't call you a medic, they call you a support. That's an all-encompassing support, and that's the mentality you kind of need to have. Agony Saris, a lot of people shit on. That's fine and dandy. You go right ahead and do that. But if she's consistently stunning you, and the flank on your team or the damage on your team can capitalize, she's doing her job. As long as she pops a heal in between if she's only healer. If she's not the only healer, then fuck that. It's the other healer's job. Mortal Reach is very effective for snipe healing. It's very effective. The only downside I personally have is the 3-second duration does make it a longer heal. In that, a longer time to heal. So you have a 2-second cooldown, you heal somebody for 3 seconds, that's 5 seconds total before your next heal. Mortal Reach is a 5-second heal. You do heal a tank for a lot more. That's 3,000 that you heal somebody for, as opposed to 2,000. And on Void Abides, you're not going to do as much healing because, A, they have to be relatively close in order to heal, because you have to heal everybody within 50 feet, and B, if their positioning is off by just a little bit, they're around the corner by just a little bit, they might not get healed. They also only get healed for 1,000 health, as opposed to your target that get healed for 2,000 health. Still, it's a nice area type combo. It's nice to have an area champion, an area healing champion. To be honest, there's not a lot of area champions in the game that are very effective. Grover and Ying are beastly, and Pip are beastly affected by Cauterize 3. Ying is going to heal for less than 50 health a second. Grover's going to heal for about 40 health a second. And Pip is going to heal on Mega Potion for that 1 burst heal. He's only going to heal you for 240. With Cauterize 3. Saris fares much better because it is an area, on Void Abides, it's an area heal with a longer duration. And on Mortal Reach, she fares better because they have to apply Cauterize continuously to keep your target from being healed. Because Cauterize lasts for 1.5 seconds if they only hit you with 1 shot. So for example, a Strix, they hit you with one shot for 1.5 seconds. If they have to reload, it does nothing. Because I still have a second and a half that I'm healing my target without any cauterize. Also noting, crippling her out of Shadow Travel becomes very effective. Oh, I'm crippled. Oh, I'm crippled. If you can get her in that little wind-up time before she can hit Shadow Travel, it's very hard for the Ceres to not want to kill you in that moment. They're just about to escape, or they're just about, if you're like me and you run a speed boost on the Shadow Travel so you can move to your ally, it's really annoying to get knocked out of that. And again, she's relatively easy, her ult's relatively easy to counter if you've got CC immunity, or if you're a champion like Moji, a champion like Koga with the Shadow Step, Billow on Xin. Buck can jump out of it. Basically, Flanks love Ceres' ult because as long as their ability is not on cooldown, they are out of there. Like, bah, boom, gone. And then there are other characters that really like ultimates. If you're looking at the champions in general, there's a few champions that kind of love support ultimates. For example, Grok's ultimate, that doesn't do enough damage to hurt some people. Like, unless you're low, then you're like, oh, fuck me. But, other than that, Grover's ultimate, it's annoying because it heals his team up, but it's not doing any damage to you. Like, Terminus loves almost every single healer in the game's ultimate. Ceres wants to suck everybody into close range, that's fine, I'll die, I'll ult, you're dead. Dama wants to chase me away, that's fine, I can block with my power siphon if I time it right, and I can just Shatterfall into your face. Genos, oh, you want to blast me? That's fine. I'll take the 2400 damage and get 4 Calamity Blasts, and if you kill me, I'll just respawn and kill all your teammates right in front of you. That's just examples of... Ying's pretty much the only one I would say. Ying's ultimate kind of can piss you off because the teleporting on it. Like, if you're just about to kill her and she teleports back to her spawn, that pisses you off. Like, she's denying you the kill. Also, if you're Khan and you're trying to chuck her off the edge right after she used Dimensional Link, you know it's on cooldown and you forget she has her ult and she fucking teleports back in your face, that can piss you off to no end. That makes her slightly harder to counter. Ying is also a very interesting champion. This is the one I wanted to spend a little bit more time on, but I've been monologuing for so long as usual. She's damage, or she's healing, or she's teleporting. She doesn't provide that third bonus effect. No matter how you build her, she has no way to boost her team speed. She has no way to reduce the amount of cauterize on the enemy team outside of her ultimate. She has no status effect that she can inflict on the other team. She is heal, damage, teleport. Now, as a healer, if you build her for healing, she's incredibly effective. As a damage, if you build her for damage, she's incredibly effective. As a teleporter, if you build her, she can be more annoying than Eevee with her fucking teleported piece of shit. I get so upset when I'm trying to kill her and she's teleporting at like 1 health and constantly teleporting around me because she stacks Dimensional Link and her ultimate and teleporting drops clones and she can teleport to the clones. It's annoying. You can see I'm getting worked up, especially as a Moji, because I spin around trying to shoot all of her clones and her and hit her, and she just sits there with her fucking reflecting lens, hitting me one shot at a time, ticking me down, make me waste Magic Barrier, sends her clones after me once Magic Barrier comes down, I'm dead. Generally after I've turned her into a cookie, and she can... There's another thing that they're going to be putting in the next patch on the 22nd. She can not teleport if she's a cookie now. Finally, they're buffing my ultimate a little bit more as Moji. You can't use your escape ability in certain games. Like, Talus could teleport if he was a cookie. He can't do that anymore. No, fuck you. You're not teleporting, you goddamn cookie. You're a cookie, your silence get eaten. And then I have to eat that personally, because if I get turned into a cookie, I can't escape, which, that's fine. Ying, you have to rely very heavily on what you're doing. If you're on Reflecting Lens... accuracy is all you have. Do not... Oh my god! I don't know who just put that little message up. I do not read that language. I apologize. I have no idea what you're saying, and I'm not running this through Google Translate. I'm sorry, bub. If I offended you, I apologize. If you like what I say, yay. Whatever than that, I'm covering all the bases right now. Anyways, Reflecting Lens Ying, she's a sniper. She can hit you for a lot of... oh god. Burst damage. I fucking hate being PC Master Race and having to say burst, but my big thing is you cannot use Ying as AoE damage or as a big healer if you're running Focusing Lens. If you're on Life Exchange, until they buff the card, you're sacrificing all damage. Pretty much even when they do buff the card, you're kind of sacrificing all damage. You're a nice healer. You're a good AoE healer at that point. But if they take your clones down, it's problematic. Lifelike is a little bit better because you can heal more people. And to be honest, the 20% less healing on the target is equivalent to cauterize 1 on each teammate. But the fact that you can heal up to 4 people at a time. If you've got 2 clones out and you have them spaced properly, they can heal. You can heal up to your entire team at a time. It's going to be for a little bit less, but it is effective in the long run because they can't possibly cauterize everybody at the same time unless they're that grouped up. Duh, it's Koga. And on Resilience, Resilience is very OP on damage because you don't really want to shoot the clone at that point. You shoot the clone, you're going to take damage anyways. You don't shoot the clone, she's going to shatter, and you're going to die anyways. Healing Yings on Resonance can be very annoying. I find that an effective strategy. It's very hard to counter. She's not going to do as much healing, but it makes them hesitant to shoot the clone. If they kill the clone, which is healing them, then they take damage from it, and it can potentially kill them. It's very interesting trade-off on that. And it does actually give you more versatility. Personally, the big thing to note is you can't really counter her teleport. Can't do it. Sorry. You can cripple her. Okay? Like an Anar can cripple her. Hello, my boy. You can cripple her all you want. But, okay, boom, I teleport, boom, I teleport, boom, I teleport, boom, I teleport. Oh, look at me, look at me. Oh, I'm teleporting. Oh my god, I'm teleporting. Up, up. Nope, nope, nope. Nope, nope, nope. Oh, look at that. Oh, wait for the cooldown to go down. Cooldown's gonna go down. There's another clone. There's another clone. Up, teleport. Up, teleport. Up, teleport. Up, teleport. Up, teleport. Up, teleport. It's annoying as hell. That's all I'm saying. But that being said, think of her as the Eevee of healers. She's a very high burst damage, like Eevee with the 850 a shot, and she has a shit ton of escape options at her disposal. If you hit her in between her escape options, though, she becomes very crippled by that. Timing is everything on Ying. Anyways, I've been monologuing for too long. I speak a little bit of Korean, Japanese, and Chinese. I cannot read it, and when I say I speak it, I know about a little bit in every language. It's like I know a little bit of Yiddish, I know a little bit of Swahili, I know a little bit of Portuguese, I know a little bit of Spanish, I know a little bit of French, I know a little bit of Russian. I try to know one sentence in every fucking language. Well, primary language it is. I can't speak certain dialects. For example, I can't speak Kurdish. I hope this has been informative. Thank you so much for watching. Let's cut the stream before everybody kills me.